Hello friends, it's Shelley from Koala Knits and Knacks, and I thought it was about time I did a nice pair of loom knit slippers for you. Now these ones, when you take a quick look at them, look like they are just a plain E-wrap stitch, but I have added a figure-8 stitch into this slipper to give it just a little bit of detail and just a very nice subtle texture. So I actually love how they turned out. We are going to use our 24 peg loom, but I do explain to you right at the beginning how you can use a bigger loom. We can make these in any size. It's not hard, it's easy, and I'm going to tell you how, and you're going to be so excited. Okay, we're going to use I love this yarn, the solid color in the color Ocean. I also paired it with, because we're doing a double strand, with I love this yarn print in the color Herb Garden. And again, I used my 24 peg loom. So once you have your supplies ready, we're going to get right into this tutorial. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and always check out the description box below my video, because I always have some special words for you there, and links to the different things that I use. So please always check out the description box below. All right, friends, I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Thanks again for joining me. We are going to start. Now I just want to point out that these slippers have a bit of a texture in them, like they have a patterning in them. It's very subtle, you can't really see it, but it's enough of a pattern that when you have it on, you see kind of a ripply effect, and it's not just a straight flat piece like that. I don't know if you can see it very well in the camera actually, but every time we do a lace or a figure-8 row, you have a wider section, and it just makes it look so pretty. I just love it. Now for me, I can use a 24 peg loom, and I cast on to all 24 pegs. You're gonna have to look how I start this project. Then you're gonna want to determine whether you want to use more than 24 pegs, because you can use any size loom bigger than a 24 bigger, because if your foot is wider than mine, I have like a fairly narrow foot and I have a size 6 foot. If you have a bigger foot and it's wider, you're going to want to cast on in multiples of 2, but maybe you're going to want to do 26 pegs, or you're going to want to do 28 pegs. Probably wouldn't need more than 28, I wouldn't think, unless you have a really wide foot and you want to go till 30. But what you would want to do is you're going to start the way I'm going to show you how to start, and then just do 4 or 5 rows. Take it off your loom, wrap it around your foot this way, and see if it's wide enough for you. If it's not wide enough for you, then add 2 more pegs, but make sure you add in multiples of 2. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your head, and you'll get it once we start here, and I'll explain it again once we get going. But you might need to do just a test swatch to see how many pegs you need for the width of your foot, and then you can go to town. Easy slippers to make, and so pretty. If we're ready to begin, I'm going to take my Boye tool, B-O-Y-E. It's got a little shepherd's hook thing that hooks at the back here. I will link this in the description box below. Friends, always look in the description box below, because I have yarn particulars in there. I have a little note for you that you wanna read, and there's links to products. So go ahead and look down there. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take this little shepherd's hook, and we're going to hook our yarn. We're going to pop that down into the back, or the top, I should say, of this piece, and we're gonna grab it with our other hand and pull it through. Taking off that hook, you're going to leave it off because otherwise it gets snagged on your work here, okay? And we're going to go ahead and put a slip knot at the end there. I don't need such a long tail. You want to keep a little bit longer than what you normally would, because we have to sew this up, but actually you don't need to, because when we gather it, we're doing the drawstring cast on, and you'll get plenty when you pull it tight. But we're going to tie that onto our anchor peg just like that. I'm going to slide this way up, because for my cast on, I don't need to use it. It just gets in my way. But as we're doing the actual project, then I love this thing. We are going to do the drawstring cast on. Stick that yarn tail in between the first and the last peg and down through the center. But we're going to go behind peg 1, in front, behind, and you see how loose this is? keep it loose, friends. We'll tighten it later, but you'll be able to finish your next row that we're doing here to finish our cast on. If it'll be easier for you if this is loose. So I just keep this really, really loose, just like this. And we're going in front and behind, in front and behind, all the way around. And again, if you need a wider piece, you're going to go ahead and you're going to cast on in multiples of 2. Now that we've got that on our last peg, we're going to go behind it, and we're going to come in between the last and the second last, and then we're going to loosely place this all the way around the top, just like this. See, I'm going all the way around, and I'm just going to hold it with my fingers between peg 1 and peg 24. Taking your loom pick, you're going to take the second one, pull it over the top, just like that. Then you can drop your yarn tail, and you're going to go around, and you're going to cast off every second peg that has 2 strands, or 4, but 2 sets. And we're going to take the bottom one over the top. And you see, because I made this looser, it's easier to do. It does get tighter as you go along. But if you wouldn't have given it any slack, you would have been fighting with this bottom row over the top row by the time you got to the end. Okay, so this is our cast on, our drawstring cast on row. And now it's fairly tight, but we made it with no problem. Now you're going to push this down, all the way around. And we're going to use our little tool here. I'm going to bring this back through, do the tensioner just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around peg 1, so behind and in between the first and the last. And I'm going to come in front and in between and behind peg 2. And I'm going to E-wrap peg 2. E-wrap peg 3. There's only one strand on the first peg, and that's okay. E-wrap and E-wrap and E-wrap all the way around. This will be considered row 1. Our cast on row, we do not count. Oops. And pull that down just a little bit. We're doing a flat panel here. And I'm going to go behind peg 1, in front of peg 2, and just hold it with my hands to keep it out of the way. Then we're going to knit off that last peg, and it is tight. There we go. But friends, it gets looser, so don't let that freak you out. It's just how it is because of the drawstring cast on. It's just that first one. Now the rest is easy. Taking the bottom over the top. Just like this. This is row 1. And you work yourself all the way around. This is such a pretty pattern with the figure 8 stitch throughout. It's very subtle, but it does make a very pretty look, especially when it's on your foot. There we go. So we can push that down. We've just knit row 1. Now I don't do the figure 8 patterning yet. I like the toe to be solid. So I'm going to take my counter and I'm going to click 1. I'll put that in the description box below too, if you need that. And we're going to then go back the other way. Because we went from peg 1 to peg 24, now we got to go back. And that way nothing is joined in between the first and the last peg, and that's how we get our flat panel. So we're going to go behind and around that peg 24. Then we're going to go behind 23 and around the other direction, just like this. Having pushed down our, I'm going to let this down so I can, this is getting tangled here. It's just that it's tight coming out of my ball, so I have to figure that out. I always find that if this little tensioner is facing down, it's easier to work as well. Okay. And then we're going to just go around. All of our pegs. And there we go. There's peg 1. I'm going to knit off. Then I can drop my row. or my tail, sorry. And we're gonna knit off. This is row 2. So simple. Now you can go under and push over like that, or you can grab your loop from the top like this and go over. Whatever is more comfortable for you. That's not comfortable for me, so I always go over and I put my finger on here and then I push up, and that's how I do it. And we're knitting off. See how fast this project is going to be? This is row 2. Don't forget to click. There it is. Push them down. We're going to do 10 rows of E-wrap. Just like that. Let me get you started on row 3 because everything is the same from row 1 to 10. I'm going to now release my anchor peg, pop that back down into the center. Then we're going to go behind peg 1 towards peg 24, around the front of it, then in between and around, just like that. And we're going to E-wrap all of our pegs once again. Sun just went down, went behind the clouds. It didn't go down, it went behind the clouds. It's early afternoon, so it might have just gotten a little bit dark in here, but it's the story of my video life. Okay, then I'm going to go behind peg 1, in front of peg 2, just so that I can hold that with my fingers. Keep that tight. I'm going to knit off peg 24. Then I can let this go, and we're going to go back. Taking the bottom loop over the top. This is row 3. When I get to the end, I will reverse again with you, and then I'll set you free. Just finished row 3. I'm going to click my counter. It's very easy to forget, you guys, because what if the doorbell rings or you just have to jump up for something and then you come back and you think, oh, what row is I on? It is fairly easy to count. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. You count the bars that are between your pegs. But as you get higher and higher, you know, it's more difficult to get in there. But this is my cast on row, right where my thumb is here. Then row 1, 2, and 3. But best to always make sure you click your counter. And you see how there's no connection in there, so that's how we get a flat panel. We're going to then push our loops all down. And we're going to go around peg 24, behind peg 23, and in front and around again this way. And we're going to E-wrap all of our pegs. That one looks like it's coming out, so push it down. Oops, let's just get 2 strands behind there. There we go. And this one looks like it's coming up too. Sometimes these are really old looms. I've had them for many years, and they just are without fail. Like, they seriously are. Sometimes these will come up a little bit just because when you saw how tight the cast on was, they will come up, but you just push it down, and I've never had one actually come out. So I'm going to keep going back and forth until I have 10 rows of E-wrap. Okay, keep doing that, friends, and once you get 10 rows complete, come back and see me and I'll tell you what the rest of the project is. I just finished my 10 rows. Now would be a good time to mention, I want you to measure your foot from the tip of your toe to the back of your heel, to the end of your heel. So your whole bottom of your foot. I want you to measure that. For me, it's 8.5 inches. So when I'm making this, I am going to start measuring from the beginning there, and I'm going to measure until I get to, I'm going to go work until I get to 8.5 inches. You don't want to go bigger than your foot because this has stretch. You want to go exactly the size of your foot. If you know, to keep the patterning, if you have to go just a little bit over or a little bit under, that's okay. Best to go a little bit over than to go under, but not by much. Okay, so I'm going to keep my 10 rows at the beginning here, and doesn't matter what size you're making. If you're doing on more pegs and you need to do much longer, still start with 10 rows, and then we'll do our patterning from here. From here, we're going to do our figure 8 row. So I'm going to take my little tool here. My yarn tail is coming between peg 1 and peg 2. I'm going to go behind peg 2 and in front, in between, behind peg 1, in front, and in between. Let me do that again. It's coming between peg 1 and 2, so I'm going to go behind peg 2, in front of peg 2, and in between. Behind peg 1, in front of peg 1, and back in between. There's my figure 8 stitch. Now it's coming, right now I'm still in between 1 and 2. I'm going to go way over to this one. So you're going to miss these two, and you're going to ignore these two, and you're going to come over to the very next two. So you're always going to start on the second one of the two. So you're going to go behind that second one, around and in front and between. Behind the first one, around and in front and between. You've just finished your figure 8 stitch on those two. Ignore those two, take your next two. Bring this right across, go behind peg 2, around the front, in between, around, and in between. Taking the next two pegs 1 and 2, go behind peg 2, around and in front, and between those two pegs, behind peg 1, around and in front, and between. Now you're done those two, concentrate on the next two. Behind peg 2, around, in between, behind, around, between. And that's how we're going to do figure 8 stitch. And with this little tool, it makes it so much easier. You just go back and forth like this. Now I was showing you the figure 8 when I was doing my E-wraps, and I was holding it up like this, just so you could see the stitches. But let me just finish this and then I'll finish my thought. But when you are E-wrapping, if you have your loom down like this, and then you just keep going around and around, just like what you saw maybe in the clips that I did really fast, it's easier than if you have it up. However, it's easier for you to hold, but for me, to E-wrap with this tool, it's best when it's laying flat like this. And then I just go to town all the way around, and it is crazy how fast I can actually do it. Now, what was I doing here? I just dropped this, so I'm going to fix it. Around, in between, around, in between. There we go. I'm going to hold that with my fingers just so that I can take my tool, and I'm going to begin knitting off. Lower over the top. Lower 2 over the top 2. That's how we do the figure 8 stitch. Fun, but it gives a little texture. It gives a little elegance to it, if you can call it that, or a little fanciness to it. It's very subtle. But it just, I think, looks so pretty. Makes a little pretty accent by just doing the figure 8 stitch every once in a while. So we're going to knit off. All the way around. That is our first row of our 4-row repeat. So we did a figure 8 stitch. We're going to count that on our counter. That's row 11. Now we're going to do 3 rows of E-wrap. Now you'll see this is coming out of this peg, not this one, because of the figure 8 stitch that we did, but it's set up for our E-wrap. And we're going to go back the other way. So I'm going to come behind peg 24 and in front, and then in between, and then we're going to do our E-wrap just like this. All the way around. There's peg 1. I'm going to hold that with my fingers. I'm going to knit off. Should have knit off that last one to hold that in place. Go this way. Sorry about that. I was thinking backwards there for a second till I realized if I let go, then my row would unravel. No bother. We're going to keep going all the way around. This is the second row of our 4-row repeat. push down. Mark your counter. And we're going to do 2 more rows of E-wrap, making it 3 in total from our figure 8. So we did figure 8 row. Now we're going to do another E-wrap row. Get you started there. And I'm going to do this row and 1 more. So figure 8 and then E-wrap 3 rows. Okay, I'll finish this row, then I'll do 1 more and I'll see you back and I'll give you final counts. I just finished my 3 rounds and my counter is now on 14. And so I want to show you how you count it now from here. Like when, or how you can visualize it. When you look at the wrong side, you'll see this long bar here that goes at an angle. This is your figure 8 row. And then right above it, here's 1, 2, and 3. So if ever you had to drop your work and you forgot to set your counter and you think, oh, did I do 1 row? Did I do 2 rows? Or did I do all 3 rows of my E-wrap after I did my figure 8 row? This is how you determine it. Again, it's slanted, that's your figure 8 row. Then you count right about, and it's in, I'm counting in between the pegs. And then there's 1, 2, and 3. So again, we are on row 14. We are going to continue this for my size of foot. I'm going to do the 4 row repeat, the figure 8 and 3 E-wrap rows. I'm going to do that 4 more times until I get to row 30. Okay. And then when I get to row 30, I'm going to see you back and I'll show you how we finish it off. Okay. So here's my figure 8 and then 1, 2, 3. That's our 4 row patterning. I am going to repeat this 4 more times. For you, if your foot's longer, then you're going to repeat it as many times as you need to get to the measurement in length that you want. So you see this pattern is versatile because you can make any size, any width, any size, based on following the number of pegs you use in multiples of 2 and then measuring your foot and having this the length of your foot when it's not stretched. So when it's just like this, that's how you're going to measure it. You're not going to stretch it and then measure it. Okay, and so go ahead and repeat this 4 row repeat, figure 8 and 3 rows of E-wrap until your desired length. And again, I'm going to go till I have 30 rows on my counter. I'm going to repeat this 4 row repeat 4 more times. I have finished my patterning. Let me just show you here. I'm going to take it inside out here just so you can see. So we have our 10 rows to begin with. Then here's my first figure 8 followed by 3 rows, figure 8, 3 rows, figure 8, 3 rows, figure 8, 3 rows, figure 8, 3 rows. That took me to 30 rows. Put that back in there. And you do it until you get to the closest length to your foot that you can get, okay? And so I'm going to take my tape measure and I'm going to measure that 8.5. That's how many inches my foot is. Okay, so now that I've done that patterning, I am going to, and when you get the closest to your size that you can in the patterning, then you're going to just start straight E-wrapping. And once you get to the length, like let's just say that you have a 10-inch foot. Once you get to as close to the 10 inches as you can get, let's say you get to 9 3/4 and you don't want to do another set of patterning, you just start doing E-wraps until you get to that 10 inches. And once you get to that 10 inches, you're going to then, you're not done, you're going to then E-wrap an extra 2 rows. Okay, so you're going to do your patterning until you get close to the inches that you need. So if you need 10 inches, again, I'm just going to repeat this. If you need 10 inches and your patterning takes you just shy of 10 inches and you know that another row of patterning is going to take you beyond that, then stop where you were and then just do E-wraps, even if it's 4 or 5 rows of E-wraps, until you get to your desired length. Once you get to your exact length, then you're going to add 2 more rows of just E-wrap. And this gives me an allowance for when I'm seaming up the heel. Okay, so I'm gonna, where's that coming out of there? So I'm gonna wrap 2 more rows course, my balls are tight. There we go. How can they be? I've used them. This is my second slipper. There we go. And again, I'll have the link to this tool in the description box below, as well as the loom set and a few other things. Okay, so we're going to knit off our E-wraps. And then I'm going to knit E-wrap one more row. So once you get to your desired length, you do 2 more rows of E-wrap. Before we do our cast off, you can see I'm pretty much almost done here, and I'm going to show you how we did this. But I'm just going to tell you, I am doing the E-wrap to do the cast off instead of the U-wrap because, and I thought I would just mention that for some of you who might wonder why I'm doing it that way. I find that it gets you get a looser, wider, and a better stretch when you do the E-wrap instead of the U-wrap. Often you'll see on different videos where you do a U-wrap like this. And I'm going to show you soon how we're going to do this process. But instead of doing an E-wrap, which is what you'll see me do for the cast off, so I'm going behind and in front and in between, just like what we've been doing all along. That's how I do it to get a look that is like that and it's looser. You can also, if you prefer and you don't want it quite so bulky, you can do a U-wrap. So you just come in between and go around like that and finish it off the way I'm going to show you, doing a U-wrap instead of an E-wrap. So follow along with me now and I'll show you what we do. Now that we have that done, we should be finished on peg 1. It's in between peg 1 and 2. So if you want to, if you're finished on this side, then you just do the opposite way that I'm going to bind off. I'm going that direction instead, but if it's easier for you to follow me and do it the exact same way I'm doing it, then feel free to go ahead and do one more row. It won't make that big of a difference. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take that yarn tail, which is coming off of peg 1, but it looks like it's in between peg 1 and 2. We're going to go behind peg 2, around and in front and in between. We're going to, it's like an E-wrap. We're going to knit off. So that's step 1. Take that loop off, pop it on peg 1. That's step 2. Knit off, that's step 3. Take that loop and put it on peg 2. That's step 4. That's how I do it. It's a 4-step process. Now you're going to look at these next 2 needles right here, or pegs right here. This is your first one. This is your second one. You're going to E-wrap, peg 2, knit off. That's 1. Take that loop off peg 2, pop it on peg 1. That's step 2. Knit off peg 1. That's step 3. Take your loop from peg 1 and put it on peg 2. That's step 4. That's what you're going to repeat all the way around. So this was peg 2. It now becomes peg 1. That's peg 2. You're going to E-wrap that. That's 1. Take this off. Put it over your peg. Knit off. Take this off. Put it over peg 2. I'm going to now wrap peg 2, knit off, take this off, put it on peg 1, knit off, take that loop off, put it on peg 2. This now becomes peg 1. This is 2. I'm going to knit. And you're going to do that all the way around. Just like that. And then we're getting a nice straight edge. Don't do it tight. Make sure you keep it fairly, give it looser tension than heavy tension, and you'll be happier. Then we're going to slide that onto peg 1, knit off, slide that on to peg 2. Wrap peg 2, knit off, slide that over to peg 1, Sometimes it's easy to put on, sometimes it fights you. Knit off, take that one and slip it over that next peg, making sure both strands follow. Let's do that one more time. Peg 2, knit off, take off that loop, put it on peg 1. Yay, 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 Shelley, Shelley, Shelley. That's how my American friend, I have this senior American friend, he was a pastor of mine many years ago, and he came from the States, ay, 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 and he would call me Shelley, Shelley, Shelley. It's a standing joke even to this day, and he's in his 90s. Because it's Shelley here in Canada, but in his southern drawl, it was Shelley. Bet you there's some of you who call me that too. Okay, I'm going to struggle with that. I'm going to keep, actually, I don't struggle. It's very easy to do. But it's just that it's away from my body farther than I would like it to be. And put that over. I don't usually have that much trouble putting this over. I'm feeling a little gibbled. There we go. And there you go. So friends, I'll spare you the agony of watching me do this. Go ahead, finish it all the way around. I'll see you when we get to the end. And that's what it's looking like. Working the last one here. Taking this over, knitting off. I'm going to then cut a tail, cut a fairly long one, the length of your slipper. You're going to just pass that over at the top there, go underneath your loops, grab that and bring it through. That anchors that last stitch. Then you can take it off your loom and you've got a nice loose edging, just like what we wanted. If you'd done an E-wrap, it would be a little bit tighter like that, but I like the stretch and the looseness when we're doing a slipper. So that's why I chose to do that, just like I had mentioned. And now you can see our patterning. We've got our 10 rows at our toe. Then we begin our lace and our E-wraps and our lace and our E-wraps. It gives it a little bubble effect here and there. So the texture is so much nicer. If you just look here, if we would have done it like just the E-wrap, we would have had a flat, it would have been just like that all the way up. I love that it has some extra texture, even though you can feel it with your hands. And if you were to use a solid color, then you see it better than when you see the variegated. But I just love it. I think it's beautiful. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to grab a strong needle. I don't recommend that you use these metal needles that you see on me using on my videos all the time with these plastic ends, because it's kind of hard to pull through this double thickness layer at the end here, and I don't want the loop to come out. So I'm going to grab my beautiful metal needle that I also love, and we're going to take our yarn tail. This is the beginning of our project. I'm going to put that onto our needle, and we're going to pull together. And as you do so, I want you to smooth this out because it makes a huge difference. If you don't smooth this out and you just pull it till it's tight and it closes, you're going to have a awkward feel on your toe. Okay, it's going to bunch up a little bit and it's not going to feel nice. So smooth it out, take that extra time, and you'll be glad you did. And from there, we're going to take our needle and we're going to go under that first row of stitches. It's a bit difficult to get under, but we're not scared of difficult. I'm gonna just start it with those first two to join, just like that. And I'm gonna pull. And when you work on the right side, like we're doing here, it's easier to see these stitches. So that's why I'm not working it on the inside, and it really doesn't make a difference. Okay, and we're going to pull. Continue your way around, getting under that first row of stitches. and pull. And when you pull, it tightens that circle. We're almost closed there. But I'm going to make this come around till I get to the very start where I began, the very top. And pull. And a little bit more. I'm going to then take this and I'm going to grab one little or two strands and we're going to knot it off. I'm only going to do one knot. Pull that knot down with your thumb nail because we are going to sew it up now. So now I'm going to turn it inside out so that my right sides are together. And we are going to begin seaming it up. And we're just going to begin, and then you're going to keep putting your foot in till you find where you want it to stop. So I'm going to pick up 2 strands on either side, just like that. Then I want to come over, pick up 2 strands, pick up 2 strands, and pull. And I'm going to do that all the way up until I feel it's in the right place for my foot. If you pull too hard, you're going to gather in there. You don't want to do that. You want it tight, but you want to keep the shape of it beautiful. And into there, into there, to there. Because I have one done already, I want to make sure that they're equal. So I can very easily use that as my guide. But you're going to keep sewing up just like this, making sure you only pick up 2 strands on each side until when you put it on, you don't want it to come right to your ankle here. Then it's too tight and it won't be comfortable. You want to have a space in there. See, from my index finger, it's from my knuckle down. Wherever it's, I don't even know if you can see that. Wherever it's comfortable, okay? You want it to just sit nice on your foot. So you have to judge that for your foot. I'm going to keep going and sew this up until I get to that spot on this one, and then I'll meet you back. When I measure them, I gotta go up just a tiny bit. Well, maybe not. Hang on. You just put them beside each other. I thought I had it right. You put them beside each other, measuring from the toe up, not from the back, because we still haven't, this one's sewn and this one's not, and so it's a little bit longer. And then once you have it where you want it to be, I'm just gonna go across right here. Then I'm gonna tie it off in a knot. But I'm gonna tie the knot on the other side. So let me go into there, turn this to the other side. And you want a small knot because you don't want that against your skin. So be careful how you make your knot. I'm just gonna grab 2 strands. It's gonna get all knotted because my yarn tail ends are, I gotta pull, there we go. And pull down with your thumb. And you can see how I separated that. I didn't hold it tight enough, so I have to go in and do that again. So I'm just gonna pick up this. See, it happens to all of us. No worries, we just fix it. I'm gonna put my knot up here actually, because we're gonna cover it. You put your knot wherever you feel is best for you. If you're gonna put an embellishment here, you're not gonna see it anyways, but that little knot underneath is not gonna hurt my foot, not gonna bother me at all. But I don't want a bigger knot, so I'm gonna just do it up here. And pull down. Then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna just weave it up the side. And weave it back down in through my work. Don't pull it though, because you don't want to gather that. You just want to hide your end. There we go. And we've got our front done. I'm going to put that on my foot, see where it lands. It's perfect. Okay, now let's do the other side. So we left a tail here. We're going to take our slipper and we're going to turn it inside out. And friends, these wash up beautifully because they're acrylic, and I'll tell you, when you wash them, You can even put them in the dryer, just don't dry the heck out of them. However, acrylic doesn't shrink, so it doesn't matter if you forget them in the dryer. But they will be a lot softer once you wash them. We're going to fold this in half. We're going to pick up the corner on the other side, just like so. And then we're going to just bring it across, and we're going to sew it down. But we're not going to leave a pointy edge here. So if you have made any of my other slipper patterns, I haven't made one like this on the loom, but if you've made any of my other slipper patterns that are on my channel, you know I do the heel a certain way. And I think you're going to like it, so stick with me. So if you're new to slipper making, or you're not, and and you want to see how to make a nicer heel, don't shut the video off yet, because I'm almost there. Going all the way down to the point, and pick up that point, make a knot. Then what you're going to do, because typically this is how people will leave it when you see them on YouTube when you make slippers, and that's fine. I mean, it looks great too, but I like to make a more defined. So I take that point and I put it up just like so, and I'm going to stitch that. And then we're going to go down the side, stitching that side close to the slipper. Until we get it down. You can feel the corner is right there. I'm going to just pick up another little piece. There we go. So that side is seamed. I'm going to trail this right back up to the point. Don't pull it too tight or you'll gather it in there. You don't want to gather. And you see how this is naturally falling that way now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up and pick up on the side. And we're going to go down. There you go. And so that now you can see the difference. You don't have a pointed back, you have a rounded or more square heel. And that takes the natural shape of your foot. So that's what you really, really want. Be sure and do that. And now we're going to tie off into a knot. That's one. Push that down with your thumb. Let's take another. Make sure you tie off your knot on the side here. You don't want it on the middle down here where you're going to step on it. And now that we have that done, I'm going to trail this up through that thicker piece that we just folded up and back down. And up just a little bit. Cut it off. Turn my slipper the other way around. Now here's where you can make some options of your own. If you crochet and you want to crochet a rib around your base there, you can. And I generally do something fancy, but I like how this looks. I like how it turned out, and I'm not going to do that. But we're going to put something on the top here. Let me try them both on. They're perfect. I love them. I think they're great. And they're so comfy. And no, the knot at the top of my toe does not hurt. It's because we sewed it on the outside. You just don't feel it. And so they're wonderful. I love them. Cozy feet. And can you see the little ribbing that's in there? Because we did not really, no, it's not ribbing. The texture because of the lace. Like, I just think it just adds to it. I love it. Now you can choose to put a pom-pom on here if you like. And if you want to know how to make a pom-pom on a clover pom-pom maker, check out my tutorial on that. I love my clover pom-pom makers, but I wanted to add something different to this one. So we're going to add these wooden buttons. I added one, and I'm going to show you what I do. I'm going to put this yarn tail on my needle. I'm going to come up. Here's my center right here. I'm going to come up just beside center with one strand here, and I'm going to pop that through from the back of the button to the front, taking the other strand. I'm going to go on the other side of that center seam, up through the back of the button to the front. We're going to take both strands and we're going to tie a knot. Just like that. Then you're going to cut this off. I cut it off at the edge of the button, just like that. Take your needle. You can leave it like that, or you can separate your strands like what I did. I think it looks more country-ish. I like it. And poke it in there, separate that. And that is such an easy thing, but I love it. There you go, friends. One little tip before we finish this video. Sometimes when we close this off, it makes our toe look a little bit like there's a bump there and a bump there. Take a pen with a narrow end, stick it in your slipper, stick it into that hole. Don't push it all the way through, but all you're going to do is you're going to mold that toe so that all those strands that are in there that you went around to reinforce with, you can put them in the direction that you want them to go. Now this is going through a little bit, but that's okay. And you're going to just mold that, and it makes a round toe instead of a square toe, and it makes it way more comfortable when you have it on. So Shelley's little tip. I hope that you find that it works for you, and I'm going to just move those ones down too. It's because all those little strands in there, when we went around to reinforce it, are sitting funny, and we need to smooth them out and pop them out in the other direction. And there you go. Makes a huge, huge difference. Do something very little for a great effect. There you go, friends. I hope you love your slippers as much as I love mine. I made these as a gift, actually, but I think I'm going to keep them. I'm now going to have to go and make another pair. Anyways, I would love to see the slippers that you have made, and whether you put a button on there or a pom-pom or however you have embellished them, or maybe you're choosing not to put anything, and that's fine too. Please show us in my Facebook group. The link to my Facebook group will be in the description box below. We'd love to have you come over and join our neighborhood there. It's just a wonderful, wonderful group of crafters. So come on over. We'd love to have you. And so friends, if you post in other Facebook groups, please always add the link. That would help support my channel, and I would appreciate that very, very much. So thanks again for joining me. Until next time, have a blessed day.